Navigation in the command prompt can be done in two different ways, with absolute or relative paths. A relative path simply means I always start from my current location. So in my case, I'm on the C drive here, and if I enter dir once again, you see we have all these folders here, so the same structure that we saw to the left. We know that our home directory is located in that users folder. So what I can do now is I can enter cd and now simply users, right? And tab for auto completion. This is available by default. This is a relative path because I'm starting from my current location and I'm now accessing another folder. If I do this, I'm now in the users folder. So if I replicate this here, I'm in here. This means if we enter dir once again, you can now say, please access the Manuel Lawrence folder here, or your username, of course. So you again type cd, again from your current location, and then the username. Again, you can enter auto completion. You see these quotation marks, which are automatically added if you have a space in here. So make sure to do the same. Or as I said, the auto completion with tab already implements this. And if you do that, now you're back in the users folder. And starting from this folder in here, you can then navigate into all the other folders, always with the cd command, and then, well, the folder name. For example, in here, we also have the desktop, right? And here I have, for example, this Git basics folder. We'll explore this folder throughout the course. Now I could also say, please navigate from the Manuel Lawrence folder onto my desktop, right here. Now a backslash, and now enter this Git folder, this Git basics folder. You don't have this folder, so you can use another folder that you might have on your desktop. That's again a relative path, and if I do this, I'm now in this folder. So this is a relative path. We also have absolute paths though. An absolute path is what you can always see right here. This is an absolute path, and the absolute path always starts from the root directory, so the C drive here. Then you get all the folders you want to access up to the point where you finally are. And you can use such an absolute path from anywhere. So no matter if I'm now in this Git basics folder, and if I want to navigate into my home directory here, I can simply do this with cd. And now you can't see it. I'll make this a bit bigger. And now I can navigate into this folder like this, right? Or if I go back to my root directory, for this we have a nice shortcut, by the way. This is cd/, so now I'm again in the root directory. And if I now enter cd, and now this absolute path right here, so I can simply copy paste it here to make it easier for us. And I copied the wrong thing. That's the problem with copy pasting. Of course, I just want to access this part here, so like this. So we say cd, and now c users and so on. If we do that, you see I'm now back in that Git basics folder. So these are absolute and relative paths. So absolute paths always start from the root folder of the current drive, whereas a relative path always starts from your current location, which you can see here in the command prompt. Now, when should I use what? Well, typically we work with absolute paths, specifically in development and web development, because if you think about the project that you have here in that Git basics folder, for example, and inside this project you have different references to other files and folders, well, if you would use absolute paths for this and your username would change, then the project would break. With a relative path, you're always starting relative from your current location, so inside this project folder, and therefore the project doesn't break no matter if you move it to another computer or to a cloud or anywhere else. With that, we can actually navigate one level up to our desktop here, and we can also clean our command prompt here because we have lots of information here. To clean or clear the current command prompt status, you simply type cls like this. With that, you have a clean window here again. So we saw our different directories, we learned how to change directories, and we learned about absolute and relative paths. What we didn't learn so far is how we can actually create things in the command prompt, files and folders maybe. This is what we will tackle next. Right now we are on the desktop in our command prompt. You can also see to the left in our Explorer. And now I want to create files and folders. Well, we can use dir, for example, to see which files and folders we have, but I want to create a new one, a new folder to be more precise. Folders can be created with the mkdir, so make directory command, and then you simply add a folder name. For example, command prompt. If you do that, You see to the left already that the folder was created, and you can also list this with dir. You know how this works in the meanwhile. And we can now navigate into this folder with relative path. You know how this works. So cd and then com, and then you can press tab. And with that, we are now in this command prompt folder like this. And inside this folder, I might want to create another folder. Let's create another directory and say the basics, something like this, right? So we have this folder now, and now we can navigate into it. And inside this folder, I might want to create a file, let's say a simple text file, for example. Files can be created with the so-called echo command. Echo written like this, and then the content of this text file, so maybe our first file in here. Let me now make this again a bit bigger for you. Then you add this, well, larger than sign, and then you add the file name and the file type. So this could be a simple test.txt file like this. So echo, then the content of the file, then the larger than symbol, and then the file name and the file type. If we do that, we don't see a lot, but with dir, you see that now we created this test.txt file here. And if you now want to see what's inside this file, you can simply enter type test.txt because we are inside this folder, so we can access this file. And if you do that, you see that this contains this, our first file text in here. Besides creating files and folders, and let's maybe clear this again. Besides creating files and folders, we can of course also delete these. For that, we are now again here in our basics folder. Let's now say, this test.txt file wasn't actually what I wanted, so let's delete it. For this, you can simply say del for delete, and now refer to the file. If you do that and print it and check the content of the folder again, the file is gone. Same thing can also be done for a folder actually. So let's maybe first create a folder in here, a new one, the delete folder, right? So we create the directory delete. And now if we say, we actually don't need this one, we cannot make the directory, but remove it with remove directory, rmdir, and then refer to this delete folder. If we do that and check it, you see the folder is gone. So this is how you can create files and folders and how you can also delete these. We are inside this basics folder, and first I want to create another text file. So let's create echo another file, which is called maybe test2.txt, right? And inside this folder, I want to create another directory, the other directory, for example, like this. So we have now the basics folder. I can also show this to you here to the left. So we have this command prompt folder, here the basics, and here we have this other folder and this test2.txt file. Besides that, I want to create another directory in this folder, and this should be our main folder, for example. You can see this folder now to the left. Now, as a first step, I want to copy this test2.txt file into this other folder. How can I do this? Well, I'm currently in that basics folder here. So now I can simply say copy test2.txt, and now I have to refer to the location where this file should be copied to. And now I can again use a relative path because I'm currently in this basics folder. So from the basics folder, I just want to go into the other folder here. If I do this, a file was copied, and let's explore it now in the GUI. Yeah, you see, this was successful. Now we copied that file from this folder into our other folder. So this was successful. The thing is that this doesn't make too much sense because now we have a duplicate of this file. So we could either delete this file now from here, or we quickly navigate into our other folder here, like this. And we now delete this test2.txt file, like this. Now we navigate one level up, one hierarchy level up. And now we could also move this test2.txt file into our other folder. To move a file or a folder, both works with the same command. You simply use the move command, and now you again want to move the test2.txt file. Again, be aware of the fact that we are now currently in this folder where this file is located. And now this should be moved into the other folder. Let's do this. You see the confirmation, one file was moved, and I'll again use the GUI here to the left. You see the file is gone, and it's now located here in this other folder. That was easy, right? As I said, besides moving files, you can also move entire folders. We are again here in our basics folder, so on this level. So I could also say move, well, what? Our other folder into the main folder. Like this. Again, very easy, right? If we do this, you see the directory was moved, and if you now access our main folder, you see the main folder contains the other folder, and this folder contains the test2 text file. And this is it actually. These are the Windows command prompt basics. You now know more about the structure of your Windows machine, so with the root, the users, and the home directory. You know how you can navigate around, you know about absolute and relative paths, and you know how to work with files and folders. In the next lecture, I'll quickly give you a command summary of what we learned right here, and then we are ready to dive into Git finally. So what did we learn in this Windows command prompt basics part now? Well, we had a look at the cd command, which by default prints our current path. We also had the dir command. Dir lists all our items of our current path, so it lists all folders and all files that we have. CLS clears our command prompt, so if you cannot read anything more because the command prompt is completely full, you can use this command to clear it. We also had cd once again, but not with the printing of the current path as we have it with cd only. But if we add cd and then 2 dots, this means we move one hierarchy level up from our current location. Or if we add a relative or absolute paths, we are able to access other folders on our device with cd. We also learned how to create new files. This was the echo command. So echo, then the text, which is the content of this file, and then the name of the file and .type for the file type. We also learned how to create new folders with make directory and the corresponding folder name. Besides creating, we also learned how we can delete files. So deleting a file works with del and the file name, including the file type. For the folder, we have a different command. Here it's remove directory, rmdir, so kind of corresponding to the make directory command to create the folder. And we had a look at how to copy files and how to move files or folders. This is it. This is an overview of the core commands of the Windows command prompt. In the last lecture of this module, you can find a helpful link with all command prompt commands that you might need, so you can dive deeper here if you want to. But with that knowledge right here, you are more than ready to dive into Git right now. Therefore, let's explore the core content of this course.